Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May meeting of the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation. And as it's our tradition, I'd like to ask Mr. Tim Tibbs to lead us in a prayer and a pledge, please.
Let's stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer this day. We want to just thank you for the many blessings that we have to enjoy here in this great city of ours. Father God, we ask you to be with all of those across our country, and especially in the southeast that suffered from such terrible damage of the storms of the last few weeks. Our prayers are with them, that you'll lift them up and help them restore themselves to their former beauty. Father God, we ask you to watch over the leaders of this city, watch over this commission as we go about doing our duties, and all that we do would bring honor and glory to you. And it's through Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim. Before we consider looking at the minutes from last month, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ricky Turner. He's a new member on our commission, and he is filling the unexpired term of Mr. Harold Yoakley. So, welcome, Ricky.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome. And if you'd like to say a few words, you can. If not, we'll
30 minutes or
yes, keep it under 30 minutes.
Just glad to be a part of the commission here.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's. You have before you, commission members, a copy of the minutes from last month. I'll give you all a second to look at those, and then we'll take a motion to approve or amend them.
Move for approval. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So, minutes approved from last month. Lanny, first item on the agenda. Got some good news?
Yes, sir. It's a privilege to introduce our new superintendent of recreation. He's been with us for about 9 years, served as the aquatics coordinator for our department for the last 3 years. Mr. Nate Williams, we've recently advertised and have promoted Nate into the superintendent of recreation's position. We're awfully proud of that. He'll be looking over the areas such as the Wilderness Station at Barfield, Cannonsburg, McFadden Community Center, a lot of the special events that are going on, our outdoor recreation division, several different things within our department, cultural arts, family programming, etc. So it's a big job. We know that he's going to do a great job. And Nate, if you'd like to say a few words, we'd love to hear something.
Thanks, Lenny. I appreciate it. It's a great opportunity. I think it's a needed position. I look forward to what we can do. We've got a lot of great people on staff. We can do a lot of great things, continue improving our programs. We have great leadership from the top, and I'm really excited. I think we're going to see some awesome things coming in the future, and I'm looking forward to it. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to just say congratulations to Nate. What I've noticed about Nate is everything he does, he gives 110%, and I know he'll do a great job at this, and we're excited and proud to have you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
That's great, Nate. If you just do half as good a job as you've done with the aquatics, this thing will go through the roof. So,
well, Lanny's made it clear we've got to get the pool open. That's one of our first priorities. We're working on that. Nikki's doing a great job right now, stepping up, taking a lot of stuff in aquatics. I'm slowly getting into some things, but we're looking forward to the pool being open on May 28th. So it's going to be a good season, and like I said, we're looking forward to the future. It's going to be a great opportunity for the city.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thomas, you going to tell us about the 5K race coming up?
Thank you for having us this afternoon. As most of you are pretty much aware that competitive distance running and recreational distance running has been a very popular sport throughout the Middle Tennessee area in the past few years with the onset of the half marathon here in town, we're getting more and more requests for these events. And while we do have a good venue to provide for the general public to host events and 5Ks, as a department, we wanted to offer something special and have a competitive premier event within our department. So we have hired someone to go out and do a certified course, 5K course at Richard Siegel Soccer Complex. This is an off-road course, and we want to host a 5K event there. The event's scheduled for July 30th on a Saturday morning. This is during our shutdown period at the soccer park. While we do have a lot of maintenance things that go on throughout this period, this is an ideal space for us to be able to put a race in here and it not disturb what's going on in terms of soccer. The fees that we're asking for this is $25 for pre-registration, $35 for late registration or day of registration if there's space available. In return for that, they'll have a nice dry fit shirt, water bottle, and a pass to visit the Sportscom outdoor pool. This is pretty comparable to most races within the area, and I think for most people that compete in these type races feel that this is a fair price and is generally the norm. Jennifer Joins, who is one of our wellness coordinators at Sportscom, has really worked hard at ensuring that this meets the standards of all the race community in terms of electric timing, certified course. So we want to make this our premier event. And we're calling it the Runs with Scissors. This has been one of our successful races. I think that Angela and Nate Williams started many years ago. We want to continue that event and make this a premier event in conjunction with our Project Go. So we're asking everyone that's coming to the race and being a part of it to bring school supplies. That helps fund the kids at Project Go throughout the school season. If those of you that are not familiar with Project Go, it's an after-school program that supplies homework help, activities and programs for the kids, as well as helping them build structure and learn life lessons in their own lives. So if there's any questions, what I'm asking today is for you to approve the fees for this event so we can go ahead and start advertising within the running community.
Questions for Thomas? Any estimated number of participants?
We want to try to cap it, this being our first year to run at this particular location, we want to try to cap it at 200. We know how that goes. So we're advertising 200 with the expectation of taking 250 to 300. We feel comfortable with putting 300 people on the course this year. We hope, anticipate in the future that we're able to grow it to 600-700 participants. But this being our first time at this location, we want to start small and build from there.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
I'm going to stay and give you an update on our Siegel Easter egg hunt. We hosted the Easter egg hunt the day before Easter at Siegel Park, and it is anticipated about 1,200 participants came out, and they were there hunting eggs. The maintenance staff put out eggs. We had several hunts throughout the 2-hour event, totaling over 11,000 eggs that were hunted and found. They traded those eggs in. They were hollow eggs, and they traded those in for prizes at one of our egg exchange stations. So it was kind of like a carnival atmosphere. For those that weren't having a particular egg hunt at that time, they were able to play carnival-type games or moon bounces. There were several activities, and the entire department really came together to make this an excellent event. When you advertise, you're starting at 1 and you're finishing at 3, and we start 5 minutes early and we finish exactly at 3 o'clock, and at 3:30 we're packed up and out of there. That was an extremely good event, and I haven't heard any complaints. We had parents that were running after the eggs. It was amazing. We had a parent or adult hunt, and they took off running as hard as the kids do, but they were dragging coming back. But it was a great event. I think anyone that was there agrees with that. Also want to encourage everyone to come out to our next big event, which is the Barfield Beach Party on May the 13th. We'll dump 88 tons of sand in the parking lot there at Barfield and have a beach party. This is a way for us to use our resources to maximum capacities, because we'll take that sand, fill volleyball courts throughout the city, put it as top dressing on our athletic field. So all that sand gets used, but we're going to get a good recreation special event out of it on the front end. So we encourage everyone to come out. That starts at 5 o'clock on Friday the 13th.
Questions for Thomas? Very good. Thomas, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration. We have, we've got Nikki Hensley to tell us about the Bradley Swim Program.
Yes, hello. Today I'm here just to give y'all an update about the Bradley Learn to Swim program. A few years ago, the Bradley Learn to Swim program started off as just another good idea, and it's really turned into a great partnership for Parks and Rec and for the Murfreesboro school system. What this was, it started off as a group of kids coming over to Patterson from 1 to 2 for their physical education class. What we were going to do was just get them in the water, play sharks and minnows or dodgeball. And in doing this, we quickly learned that a lot of them couldn't swim, and a lot of them were terrified of the water. So this has really turned into swim lessons, it's so needed over there. A lot of these kids would never have had an opportunity like this. For the past 3 years, Nate and myself have been working closely with Mr. Charles Avent from Bradley, and what we've been doing is we're getting them in the water with multiple swim instructors. We're dividing them up into groups, and just if their fear is, going underwater, or they want to learn how to do backstroke or front crawl, we're just teaching it to them. And in doing this, we have had 300 plus kids over the years in the water who like the water and enjoy it and are safe in it. Currently, April 25th of this year until May 20th, the kids are coming over every single day. We have 40 to 60 coming over. Each day we have a new group coming in, and the next week the same group comes back. Many of these kids, like I said earlier, have a huge fear of the water. And in just the 2 weeks that we've been doing it now, I've seen so much improvement. And it's so rewarding to see your hard work paying off like that. I want to keep this program going. And the future plans for it is things that I would like to see done is I would like to see the number of kids that are involved in this increase. And I'd like to do more sessions in the year. And also, we have 2 really good pools here in Murfreesboro, SportsCom and Patterson. I want to get SportsCom involved with it. And I would like to see other schools coming, not just Bradley. Each kid we get in the water, each kid that was afraid of the water, that we get in the water, becomes much more experienced in the water. And with that experience, they are a much less, they become much less afraid of the water, and with that, they're much safer in it. And that's really the goal, is to get them safe in the water. I'm just updating y'all on this program so you can see how Aquatics is gearing our programs to meet the goal of Parks and Recreation. Do y'all have any questions about it?
Mr. Chairman, yes. You said you was wanting to go ahead and try to increase the number of schools that are involved. I think that's an excellent idea. I guess you've just been able to evaluate it in the past few weeks, so you probably still need to do some more evaluation on that, or you've seen enough that you feel confident that that's a good direction?
I feel very confident doing it. We've been doing this for 3 years, but just with Bradley.
Yeah.
So I would love to see a number of schools coming to do it, because we definitely have the places to do it, so we should utilize them.
Well, what's the time, I guess, what time of day is that conducted over, and what's the transportation issues that might, relate to the other schools? Obviously, with Bradley, that's not an issue,
Right.
but other schools, I guess,
Other
it could
schools,
be.
those are just things that we would have to work out. I have not even thought about all of that with it. I just would really like to see other kids get this opportunity, because, being over at Patterson, we see such a large community that has no water experience. And, drowning is a huge problem, and it's so scary for parents. And so I really would just, we can work out the details later, but I think this would just be something great to get going. And right now, Bradley's going well in their transportation. They just run across the field over to Patterson from 1 to 2 when the pool's closed, and we get them in there and get them back out when we open up to the public.
Are you seeking, I guess, and this may be more for Lanny as much as you, are you seeking approval now to expand,
by no
or are you just
means.
trying to report?
No, I'm just reporting to y'all and telling y'all that.
She's just coming, Mr. Tips, to kind of update you where we're at.
All right.
We have engaged conversation with Dr. Gilbert on several areas, athletics being one of them. We've got a program right now, we're engaging kids in outdoor activities and healthy living. And we've talked about some of the other skill sets that we have that could benefit the school, such as the swimming program. And we're talking about how can we make that happen, because there's not pools at the school, obviously. Right. But the aquatics program is one of the things that could work for the physical education requirements and also benefit the kids in learning aquatic skills and how to swim and life skills and so forth. So we are still talking to them. Hopefully in the future we can work out the logistics, but I think based on what we've seen in this program, there's a huge benefit of getting the kids over there during the school day, and you can just see the difference in the children from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. A lot of the fear is gone. A lot of them have actually started to swim in this program. Some of them have improved their swimming skills that they've already had. So we think it's worth pursuing.
We think, I know there's some logistics. I know there'll be some liability issues, some other things, but is this something that we possibly could get more information between now and over the summer that with the potential maybe implementing another school or so next fall or next year?
We can, and as we work those out, and Dr. Gilbert's absent today, but she would probably say the same thing that I'm saying, that we are talking about it, and if we can work it out within the school year, if it can be a part of 6 weeks or a part of a semester, even if it's just a week, for that particular school, we think it's going to be beneficial.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. We're saving lives there and teaching skills, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, next on the agenda, Rachel Singer, and she's going to tell us about hopefully somebody giving us some kayaks and paddles.
I am. The Friends of the Greenway would like to donate 8 new kayaks and paddles to our existing fleet of 10 kayaks and paddles that we currently have. We're right now beginning our 4th season of paddling, and the kayaks have been a huge asset to our program, allowing many kids and adults to experience our Stones River. Because of this, of the great success of our programs, these kayaks have seen a lot of river hours, which means that they've got some wear and tear on the boats. So additional kayaks would help to kind of alleviate the use of our current boats and also be able to expand our program to offer it to more people. So I hope you'll consider the donation of these boats to our department. Have any questions?
Kind of hard to pass that up, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks, but perhaps on the day they donated, annually on that day, we could offer them free to the public and promote the use of them.
That's a great idea. We've been tossing some ideas around, so I like that idea.
We have partnered for the past several years with the Stones River Watershed Association for the Boat Day event, which I believe is the last Saturday in June annually, and we'll bring those kayaks then. That's a good opportunity for the public to come out and try out not just those kayaks, but we'll have canoes, a variety of different types of boats. If someone is considering purchasing a boat, this gives you a chance to get in the water and see what you like best. It also is just a good chance if all you want to do is go and spend a few minutes out in the water. It's a good event. The Friends of the Greenway, just to kind of add to what Rachel said, has been a huge supporter of our Greenway and Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department. It's a volunteer organization that helps us not just financially, but with volunteer hours.
Do we have to have a motion to accept the donations?
Yes.
I was going to make a motion to move, but I was also going to move to accept, but was also going to say the Friends of the Greenway, selfishly to say the Murfreesboro Half Marathon, and we are already half full with the marathon for this year in 5 days already, but
about 5 days.
The Murfreesboro Half Marathon donated over $30,000 last year to our different organizations, and Friends of the Greenway was one of those. So it's a good partnership between Murfreesboro Parks and Rec, Friends of the Greenway, and the marathon. So say thank you to them for that donation, and with that ask for approval of that, please.
I would second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, next on the agenda, got some more generosity here, it looks like, Lanny.
Yes, sir. It's an honor to have Miss Gloria Christie here today, who is the festival organizer for Uncle Dave Macon Days. I think all of us know how successful that program has been. Last year, they started a new trend. They started charging admission to Uncle Dave Macon Day Festival. It's just a small nominal admission, but they were looking at how they could raise funds for sustaining the festival in the future. And in doing that, one of the things that I know that the Uncle Dave Macon Board did is they talked about also sustaining the grounds and the area, the facility where Uncle Dave Macon was held. And so with that, what they said is if their venture was successful, then they would try to see if they can give money back to Cannonsburg for sustaining the grounds as well in the area there. They have made a $3,500 donation to the Friends of Cannonsburg, which will be earmarked for improvements to Cannonsburg. But before I steal too much thunder from Ms. Christie, I'd like to, and she's at the podium, let her have an opportunity to talk about what their mission is, where they're headed, and maybe a little bit about this year's festival to give you a sneak peek of what you may see coming in the future.
Well, thank you. First of all, I just think we live in the best city in the whole wide world. I mean, I just sit here and listen to the interaction with all the different things that are happening in our community, and it just, I don't know, just brings such a, I don't know, pep in my step here. And of course, Lenny knows for a long, long time, we have been at Cannonsburg since 1989, and I guess we are the group that has the largest impact on that facility. Cannonsburg is one of the last 1976 projects throughout the country, a bicentennial project that was really not meant to sustain the number of years that it has. It does need a lot of repair. I know many of you all know that. We feel like that to be good stewards of the facility and of our monies, it's only right for Uncle Dave Macon Days to be a participant in that effort, and we're just more than happy to give some of our, to let you all be a benefactor in that and partner with us. We feel like we had a very soft gate last year. We know folks got in and didn't actually pay, but we meant for it to be a very soft introduction to this and get folks used to it. We know there's revenue there that can potentially help Cannonsburg, and it also will help other related projects that we know that are so needed in our community. That's for last year. We kind of was in fear and trepidation at doing this, and we'd never done this before. There's only 2 other music festivals throughout the country that don't charge, and one is ours. And we looked at other places in the United States that do similar type music festivals, and we felt like the $5 fee was a reasonable fee, and we thought that it would be a good way to start and have some revenue to not only sustain Cannonsburg but also sustain the festival. So we did that, and we now we see the potential. We have a lot of dreams for Uncle Dave Macon Days and creating our area as a home for traditional American music. There is not a place like that in America, really, for the kind of home that we're trying to create. And the festival is we see this happening all over the United States, that people really come, and all over the world now. We have such an appeal, and we've got to somehow or another maintain the actual grounds that we have the event on. So we're really happy about what happened last year, and this year we have a lot of new things that we're able to offers, as a result of that, we're going to have lots and lots of kids' activities, demonstrators that we haven't been able to afford before, and we're real excited about the venue, the quality of entertainment that we're going to have this year. Many of you may know David Holt. He's played with Doc Watson. He's our Heritage Award winner. We would not be able to afford to even have that caliber of entertainer to come and be our Heritage Award winner this year. So we're excited about that, and just to begin to educate people and in our community what the mission of Uncle Dave Macon Days is all about. So, and with that said, thank you so much I want to thank the Rec Department for being such a partner in all this. We could not do this. They give us so much in-kind support over the years, and we just could not do this without them, because we're a very small, Lanny knows, we are a very small group of volunteers that are very passionate, but we're just we're few in number. So I want to thank the Rec Department for giving us this opportunity and for being so supportive over the years. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions for Gloria? Gloria, I want to thank you and your family and all your volunteers, because if it wasn't for y'all's hard work and many, many years of hard work, there would be no Uncle Dave Macon Day. And it's quite successful in the community. And I know y'all were real nervous last year with the implementation of the fees, and I'm glad that that's worked out very well. So congratulations with that. Thank you for everything.
Well, thank you all too.
Angela, you next.
I'm up.
Okay.
I wanted to give you an update on our Murfreesboro Greenway system. We have a lot going on. First of all, let me start by saying that the trail is open from Thompson Lane to Manson Pike, and the Gateway Trail is open currently. We had a good bit of storm damage recently, and have some storm damage and some trees down between Cannonsburg and the Stones River Bridge. We're working now to get that open just as quickly as we can. We also, between Cason Trailhead and Old Fort Park, there was some storm damage, and thanks to our recent rain, some areas that are still underwater. The Cason Trailhead and the trailhead shelters and the playgrounds there are currently open, but that section now, again, we'll have it open just as soon as we can. But I wanted to make you aware of that. The Stones River Greenway extension, which goes from Old Fort Park will go to Barfield Crescent Park, that's divided into 4 phases. The first phase is the area that connected the older section of trail through Old Fort Park. That one is complete and doing really well. Phase 2 is from Old Fort Park to Cason Trailhead and Highway 99. We opened that a couple of years ago. That's the area that I'm telling you now is temporarily closed while we get things cleaned up. At the very end of Phase 2, we are under contract now with a tree removal service. There are some trees there that are dead or dying that we have had the trail closed just from Cason Trailhead to Highway 99 for some time because of those trees now. We plan to have all of that completed sometime this month, actually. When we get that tree removal project complete, we'll be able to open our new Phase 3. When we have a date ready to go with that, we'll of course be issuing press releases in that regards. But our Phase 3 is an additional mile of trail that goes from Highway 99 to where the West Fork and the Middle Fork split. And it's a nice section. We're really looking forward to having that open. The final phase, Phase 4, we are currently in the process now of working towards property appraisals, to acquire the property of that last 2.5 miles to complete that connection to Barfield. So we'll look for that happening and having that entire connection open within this next couple of years. So wanted to kind of tell you what was going on with that. Also, as far as the bridge renovation, we were awarded a grant. It's a $100,000 project. 80% of that was through the grant with a 20% match to renovate the section of trail from Fortress Rosecrans to Manson Pike Trailhead. The bulk of that project is the renovation of the Stones River Bridge, the big 3-way bridge that is there where Lytle Creek meets the Stones River. That bridge, we'll be redecking it soon. We expect that that to take place here within the next probably 3 weeks for that renovation to start. That would be 3 weeks at the earliest. And again, we'll be issuing press releases exactly when that happens. We'll try to get it done as quickly as possible, but there will be a time when that is closed, and I understand that that's really key to the connectivity of the Greenway. But it's important that we take care of that project now in order to keep things safe and long-term going well. So we will be redecking that bridge coming up here very soon, and we'll keep you posted for that project as well. The North Murfreesboro Greenway is something that we've been talking about for a while. That is something we've been working with the Army, with the Corps of Engineers, in order to create an agreement to build a section of trail from Walter Hill Park on up to the Coleman Farm on the north side of town. So we have just wanted to let you know that we are still working towards that agreement, but getting closer. We've been having a lot of discussion with them lately. So that's something that we hope to be reporting to you soon as far as some real movement in that direction. And finally, I wanted to let you and everyone else know another closure, and I hate making closure reports, but in the section that I was telling you about, the Phase 2 section from Old Fort Park to Cason Trailhead, sometime this summer, the Water and Sewer Department is going to be doing some work as a part of their sewer projects. There are 3 sections of that project that affect us. One comes adjacent to the trail, 2 will go over it. From what I'm told, that it will just be a couple of days as long as things go well and they don't hit too much rock in those projects, but they're going to put the Greenway back. I know, no chance of rock happening around here, right? So we will, of course, be working with the Water and Sewer Department to make sure that the public is informed when those closures are about to happen, and try to get them over with just as quickly as possible. So I know that's a lot. There's lots going on. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
How many miles do we have open?
When we open our Phase 3, that will be the completion of our 11th mile.
Okay.
Not that I know anyone who would go around the fence.
No, I'm sure you wouldn't.
But that, hypothetically, that area around there is the nicest part of the Greenway, in my opinion. It's beautiful.
Hypothetically speaking, I agree. When we do open that up, I think the public is going to be very happy. It's a lot more of a nature trail than some of our more urban areas, and I know people really enjoy that.
What decking are we putting back on the bridge?
It's wooden. It's 3 inches thick, so it's a lot of wood, but it is a wooden decking. We actually looked, if you'll notice, the bridges that we build now have a concrete decking. We looked, as we were doing the renovation, at the possibility of retrofitting that and found out that was not a really feasible thing for us to do. So we'll just continue on.
Exciting.
It is.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Lanny, you going to tell us about the spring fling?
Yes, sir. In your packet, I have included a schedule for the upcoming spring fling. That will be May the 23rd through the 27th. And for us, it's always generally through the 28th because on the 28th is when you play your if game in softball, and that's if someone comes out of the loser's bracket and wins. There's always the if game, they call it, and that's always on Saturday. So far, since we've been hosting Spring Fling, we've always had at least 2, if not 3, if games on Saturday. So for us, it's May 23rd through the 28th generally. But what I've done is on your cover sheet, it shows the locations. Track and field, of course, is at MTSU. That's at the facility that the city worked with MTSU to build, which is one of the premier facilities in Middle Tennessee and probably in Tennessee for track and field. All the tennis now is held at Old Fort Park with the advent of the new 16 tennis courts. Baseball, I've got the different sites for baseball. We host the boys soccer championships, which is at the Richard Siegel Park. Softball, we hosted at McKnight and Starplex, and also the headquarters for TSSAA is held at SportsCom. So we are the headquarters site for the event. I do want to mention that the Chamber of Commerce, who bids on this event and brings it to our city, Mona Vaughn and her staff work very hard. And they are soliciting volunteers And if you know folks or folks are in the audience or listening to this program that would like to volunteer for Spring Fling, then they can contact the chamber, contact Mona or one of her staff, or they can go online. That volunteer form is actually online, and they can fill that out and get it back to the chamber. The event, if you turn into your schedule, you can see where, for us, tennis starts on Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Soccer will start at 4:30 on Tuesday, and softball will start at 5. And that will get us, and of course I mentioned the softball, if there is an if game, that will start at 10 o'clock on Saturday. But I thought you would like to have a schedule of the upcoming events, and that is the schedule, and that is the times and the sessions that will be held this year for the championship games. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have about that.
Well, one, I think this is just good business for Murfreesboro. I hope we don't ever lose this bid. You know, it's great to see the county schools and the city work so well together. If you haven't been out to any of these ball fields lately, folks like Coach Hawks at Oakland, they have a minor league feel to their field. It's just impeccable. These folks are future groundskeepers for the Parks and Recreation
Absolutely.
system. They do a great job.
Very good. Lanny, any kind of numbers on revenue that comes in? Do you remember from last year, or the number of people?
The estimated economic impact of Spring Fling is around $3.5 million to the city. We have approximately 5,000 athletes that compete that week, which, if you equate that to number of visitors coming in, probably 25,000 visitors coming in. Of course, Spring Fling is a week-long event, so people are here. Some things are single elimination, some are double, but it keeps people in town. All of you know, during that week, restaurants are full, hotels are packed, a lot of movement within the city of Murfreesboro.
Well, we'd like to encourage the public to go out and attend some of these events, because you really see some great
Absolutely.
athleticism.
If you enjoy sports and you'd like to see the quality game, like Mr. Roediger said, if you like baseball, any of those sites, going and watching some of the best baseball that you can catch throughout the year, soccer, tennis, there's some real competitive matches that happen, and it's great fun to go out and watch that.
Mr. Goodwin, I would like to ask a question. Is there any kind of sponsorship to any of these events that go on during Spring Fling?
The Spring Fling is put on by the Tennessee Secondary Athletic Association, and they go out and seek corporate sponsors. Blue Cross Blue Shield is generally their main sponsor, and then they have other sub-sponsors, but we have to hold to what TSSAA tells us. So we don't seek additional sponsorships for that, or neither does the Chamber, but they do have certain ways that you can support Spring Fling. So if you or any business that may be listening is interested in supporting, getting their companies or employees involved, I would suggest that they contact Ms. Mona Vaughn at the Chamber of Commerce. That's a good question.
We're looking forward to it. Okay, the next item, Lanny, is an update on our bicentennial event.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, of course, we have got our 200th birthday coming up. October the 17th of this year will mark 200 years that Murfreesboro has been recognized as a city. Of course, it started off as Cannonsburg in the first logs where it was designated a city. It was called Cannonsburg, and approximately 30 days later, it was changed to Murfreesboro with a GH. Sometime after the war, the GH was dropped. But going back and working with Dr. West from the university, he has really gone back and done the research and looked at the happenings of what was significant within that year, that first year in Murfreesboro. And so what we have done, and I have given you the worksheet for potential events and activities, you can see that starting in October, we're going to celebrate our heritage, and we're going to have a kickoff at the Cannonsburg site. So Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department, along with working with the Chamber of Commerce and other folks, will be kicking off that particular event. Also, one of the other things that I've attached to you is the committee that has been formulated. And of course, the mayor is serving as the chair of the steering committee for the bicentennial, and you can see the different committee chairs for each one of the months listed as well. But I'd just like to go through each month. November, we're talking about our beginnings, which is where the legislation for Murfreesboro was proposed. Our teachers, educators, of course, before there were a lot of buildings and so forth, there were actually teachers in the area, so we want to do something there. And the Murfreesboro City Schools will be involved in that. Our healers, which is the medical community. We've got folks from MTMC that are participating in our committee. Our people, we've got a multicultural influence here in Murfreesboro, and we want to make sure that we represent that and represent how Murfreesboro grew. Our military, it played a part, and of course the Battle of the Stones River was a big event here in Murfreesboro. Our faith, the First Presbyterian Church will turn 200 years old this year, and they will be having a celebration as well, so that will be a part of it. Our art will be May, our rivers, roads, and trails. And then you flip over until July, you see music. And of course, Uncle Dave Macon Days is one of the premier festivals, and they will be next year doing something in conjunction with the 200th birthday. In August, our stories, which is our newcomers, and we're getting the Association of Realtors. They've got some different events that they will be planning, and we'll start releasing some of those plans in the future. You'll start seeing different stories of activities coming up and how it relates to the 200th birthday. Our work, which is our commerce and business, and of course the Chamber of Commerce is going to be working with different businesses within the community. And then in October, our future, and we'll be doing things that will set in place, hopefully for the next 100 years, a celebration of the growth of our great city. So I wanted to bring that to you, and also just make an announcement for folks that are interested. There may be different civic groups, social groups, churches, businesses, etc., that would like to host an event, and they can do that. We would like to. We have a form, and I can hold this form to the camera. One of the cameras, here's the camera that's looking at it. But the form has the logo for the bicentennial on it. If they would like to use the logo, they can just simply log on to the Murfreesboro City's website, and they can download the logo and use that for their event. We'd like for them to do that. If they would like their event recorded in the scrapbooks or the archives, so in another 100 years when people are looking, and we were trying to go back and see what was celebrated at 150 and what was celebrated at 100 and so forth, and it's hard to find the information, so we want to create some kind of document that in 100 years somebody can look at it and say, gosh, for the 200th birthday, here's a lot of things that they did. So we're excited about being a part of the the bicentennial. We think it's going to be something that is going to give people some history. They can celebrate their roots and where they came from and where Murfreesboro, how it evolved, and hopefully we can plant some seeds in our younger generation for developing the ongoing things that have been done in Murfreesboro and continue the great growth that we see in our city. Angela, would you like to add anything?
I think you've covered it. Let me just reiterate as far as this is a citywide celebration. The Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department will be doing dedicated programming to the bicentennial. We'll take some of our existing programming, such as Harvest Days at Cannonsburg, for example, and really give them a extra kick with the bicentennial, our 4th of July celebration, things of that nature. But the idea isn't just that this is a Parks and Recreation or a City of Murfreesboro activity. This is a citywide activity. So that the form that Lanny was mentioning, which will be available online, is just something so that everyone in the city will have have the same information that we have, so that we can coordinate that, make sure we don't have any conflicting dates. I'm sure we'll have conflicting dates, we always do, but if we can at least know everything that's going on, have that information available for calendars and scrapbooking and all of those things for us, that would be wonderful.
Very good. Very exciting. Any questions? We look forward to that. It looks like a year's worth of events coming up, so you guys are going to be busy.
Absolutely.
Okay. Angela, you're going to tell us about our mobility policy on the Greenway?
Yes, sir. The Department of Justice has recently made amendments to the ADA requirements, the American with Disabilities Act requirements, and I have been working very, very closely with Adam Tucker on making sure that our Greenway and other trails within our park system are that our rules and policies are consistent to those new requirements. We've done some trail assessment and really worked to establish our own policy to make sure that we are, accessibility has always been one of our goals, and we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to keep the trail safe and as accessible as possible. The policy before you, I'm not going to, it's pretty lengthy, I'm not going to read everything, but I did want to point out a few things. First, it starts with the definition to really clarify what a wheelchair is, and then defines an electronic personal assistance mobility device, which is mentioned throughout the policy. Basically, the policy, what it does, it says use of a wheelchair or an electronic personal assistance mobility device by an individual with a mobility disability is permitted in all park areas and trails where pedestrian access is permitted, except as stated in this policy or otherwise posted. It says that electronic personal assistance mobility device use is prohibited on any trail in which bicycle use is also prohibited, such as the backcountry trails at Barfield Crescent Park. The use of golf carts, gasoline-powered or electric-powered vehicles, including but not limited to autocycles, motor bicycles, cars, trucks, motorcycles, mopeds, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. As long as and to any other motorized vehicles or power-driven mobility devices not specifically permitted, as stated earlier, they are prohibited. There is a section as well where if someone has a device that is not specifically permitted or mentioned in the policy, they can ask for exception. In writing to our department, it kind of goes into how to do that. And if they are not granted that exception, then they can appeal through the Disabled Resident Access Committee. So that's kind of a quick summary. Be glad to answer any questions. I'll probably defer any questions from that point to Adam, actually.
One of the things that I'd like to mention is this is a requirement that we have an access policy. And I know Adam can speak to that more clearly, but I think it's one of the things that clearly defines the usage on the Greenway. And we have questions all the time about how can I get on the Greenway, what's allowed on the Greenway, etc. So I think this really clarifies it, and it does meet the requirements of of the law.
Any questions for Adam or Lanny or Angela?
No, I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And there are none. Motion passes. Thank you, Angela, and Adam, thank you for all your hard work on this. I know it's a bunch, so very good. Lanny, are we on Facebook?
Yes, sir, we are. You can go to the city's website, and you can like the Facebook for the city of Murfreesboro, and you can go on and find activities that are happening all through the city, whether that be Parks and Rec or things that are happening police, fire, or other departments. We have someone that is designated, Ms. Becky Johnson is our designee for posting on Facebook, and she's doing a great job for getting our information out, and then also posting follow-ups, pictures, those kind of things, showing activities. And we're really excited about that. But along with that, there was a policy developed that I need to make the commission aware of, which was passed under Resolution 11R04 regarding the use of social media by the city, its employees, officials, which you all fall under the official category, and citizens. These are clear rules and guidelines that will keep us in compliance with state, federal, and our ordinance in terms of the laws and rights for being on a social media. One of the things in terms of application, if you go down to Section 1, under 1.2, it says it also applies to every official, whether part-time or full-time, currently holding city office, who post any such material in their official capacity or in any manner that is reasonably deemed to be in their official capacity. The reason I bring that up is when you get into the rules of engagement, which falls under Section 3, in terms of non-social media sites, which means that I don't know how many of you Facebook, but there are some guidelines for operating on Facebook outside the city's Facebook. And those are addressed in Section 3. It says an employee or official may not characterize himself or herself on a non-city social media site as representing the city directly or indirectly in any online posting unless pursuant to the written policy. So I wanted to bring you this policy so that if you are posting on Facebook, that you stay within the compliance of the city of Murfreesboro. I know that being commissioners, that people contact you about different activities, and you may reply to those, and I know that all of you do, and that's good. That's a good thing. But we can't do anything official as officials on a social media page. There's other ways of doing that. The last section, under Section 4, of course, our commission is subject to the Sunshine Laws and the Open Meeting Act under Tennessee Code Annotated, and we have to make sure that commissioners are not talking about official business over social media, because it could be construed to the fact that we are diverting away from the open meeting requirements that are set forth by state law. So I wanted to bring you this policy, see if you have any questions. Adam is here. He can address any questions that you may have regarding this social media policy. again, we're real excited that we can Facebook now. We think that's another link for us to market to folks and give them information. We'll have 2 people posting. We'll have Becky Johnson for all of our recreational activities, but Thomas Laird will also be able to post things, rainouts this afternoon. He can go on there and he can put those on, and people can pick those up either on their cell phones or on their computers. So we think it's a good way of communicating more directly with our participants in our programs. But there's also some rules in here that I wanted to make sure that you were well aware of and that we didn't violate.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank Mr. Lyons, because this is something that we have diligently worked on for the last 3 or so years, and we ran into some resistance with the legal department, rightly so. And as you can see, we've got the ordinance that we passed, so the legal department doesn't want us to ever get in any trouble. But with that moving on, Mr. Lyons has made a concerted effort in having more openness in government so that any resident can go and see anything that they want, and especially with social media, that's where people get a lot of their information now. So this will help us within all of our departments. The police department has now put one up. The city has a general one, Parks and Recreation. We're starting to see different departments that are trying to keep residents informed on simple things like garbage pickup or holiday schedules with garbage pickup and things that people can really get out and look. Now, what I've seen as a council member over the last 6 years, that we don't receive as many phone calls anymore. We receive emails and things through Facebook and texts and things like that, just because it's easier for people to do that. So I think this is the city showing that we're moving along with the times. We're streaming meetings online now, so you can see any of the council meetings online. You can sit and watch a meeting. So it's something that we're just trying to stay at least equal to the technology that's out there. So it's a job well done on everyone getting this up, and especially with the legal department working through and getting it to where it meets all the Sunshine Law and all the Open Meetings Act. So it's a good thing to be able to have.
Very good. Thank you.
Do we need to have a motion on this?
Actually, I have a question. I mean, it's been well thought out, but Adam, since you're here, you're a lawyer. Yeah, I'm looking at 3.1.
Yes.
For instance, and does this shackle employees of the city in some way to express themselves on their own personal Facebook or something? Would they be in violation if they said, well, as Parks Director for many years, I have a strong opinion about this? Do they have to all of a sudden start, censoring how they, word something? I mean, what's your take on it?
The focus of this policy is to expand the city's ability to communicate with its citizens, while at the same time balancing the responsibility of having the city speak with one voice, but also protecting free speech rights protected by the U.S. and state constitutions. What I think Section 3 tries to focus on is limiting and, in many cases, prohibiting a city employee or official making a statement that could be construed as a statement in an official capacity that would be binding on the city from a legal standpoint. But in no way does that mean that we're restricting someone's right to, express their political opinion on an issue on their own Facebook or other social media site. So what the example that you said, so long as the statement is not coming across as, this is what I am saying on behalf of the city, I don't think that would be a violation. But you are entering an area where, where someone's saying as, you know, the director of so-and-so department, this is what I believe, that's a little bit, could be construed by the city manager and the legal department as violating this policy if it looks to bind the city in a way that it has not, you know, said, and with its single voice, this is the city's position on this issue.
I just picture elections, for instance. You know, I picture someone in Public Works or somewhere else, you know, just saying, well, here's who I think is a great candidate and why, or here's a sorry candidate and why. And they may not reference their position at all, but everyone knows. Well, everyone knows he works in Public Works. I mean, I'm just, you know, sometimes the interpretation of these things, you know, bother me. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, well, I think certainly with something when you're dealing with elections, when you're dealing with a political process, that is something where this policy is not directed as trying to, you know, seal anyone's lips or tie anyone's hands with respect to political speech not related to you know, a government function, or even I don't want to say not related to a government function, but that where they're saying, I am speaking in an official capacity on behalf of the city. But certainly if someone says, you know, where it's say, for example, someone has on their Facebook page, there's nothing in this policy that says that you, as a member of the Parks and Rec Commission, can't state on your profile that, you know, among the other community service activities I engage in is service on the Parks and Recreation Commission. If you say, I am in support of this because, you know, they've done X, Y, and Z to support various park and rec activities, then I don't think that would be a problem. Does that?
Well, no, that helps, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to vote in the spirit of it, but, you know, it's just one of those things. I think there'll be other skeptical people around, and I just think it was important that we discussed it.
Mr. Miller, I'm not sure a vote is necessary here. This has been passed by the council. It is an ordinance.
And Tim, I think what
excuse me.
I was just going to say, I think what the intent is not having people on there, like I have a personal Facebook page with, I don't know, a couple thousand friends on there, and I think what the intent is for me not to speak on behalf of the city of Murfreesboro, giving concrete things where people would construe it as I'm speaking on behalf of the city council or speaking on behalf of the city. And I think that's what it's intended to for employees. If you have say for instance, Mr. Goodwin speaking on behalf of the entire Parks and Recreation Department through his Facebook page as I'm director of Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department, and this is what I feel is the best thing for the city. So I think that's what it's not meant to hold anyone's public forum or their right to post what they want, just not to do that on their personal page as a representative of the city. So and the thing with the social media, it's something that not necessarily is new, but it is a very fluid thing, because just as soon as we get this ordinance passed and as it's written, something will change next month. There will be something new that's out. So you're exactly right.
I mean, we know this social media can be volatile. It's like wildfire. You say the wrong thing, and that's why, you know, putting a policy to it sometimes makes me wonder. But I understand. Thank you for that clarification.
I might also add that, you know, I know it's not the intent of, it wasn't the intent of council, nor is it the intent of the city manager or the city administration to be policing, you know, individual speech on individual, you know, personal social media sites. That's not what this policy is about. It's not looking to restrict free speech. It's trying to make sure that the city communicates with one single official voice.
Right. And the reason I put it on the agenda is it does affect the commission. I wanted to make that an informational item. It doesn't require you to approve it, but I just wanted the commission to be informed on the new policy that the council has approved so that we adhere to those guidelines.
Any other questions? Any other new business?
No, sir, no new business.
Any other old business?
No, sir.
I've got a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman. A few months ago, we talked about some programs working in concert with Murfreesboro City Schools, about working together with the rec department, Parks and Rec, with some of the fields, the playgrounds, softball fields and tennis courts on some of the city schools. Hadn't heard anything followed up on that. Was wondering if there was
Mr. Tibbs, if I could, I'd like to ask Mr. Laird to come back to the podium and share with you what we're doing in terms of using the school grounds and the athletic fields.
Of course, it's been a wet spring, so a lot of our maintenance efforts have been delayed. We do have intentions of going in and fully renovating as many of those properties as we possibly can. What we have done is we have assigned specific schools to our area leagues, the Murfreesboro Optimist Club, the Murfreesboro Baseball Association, and they have been assigning those sites out to their coach pitch teams and their T-ball teams that don't normally get practice time on a field once the season begins. And so they've assigned those sites out, and the Optimist Club in particular has done a really good job of utilizing all the space available and making certain that each team is given an equal opportunity. And the NBA has done as well out in that area. And we did make a couple of schools public. The Black Fox School we've made that public, and also the Discovery School, Reeves Rogers, is kind of a public first come first served space for the city, since those are centrally located. But our goal is, as we move through, we've done pretty much all we can do to try to get the 21 baseball, softball fields ready each week under the circumstances we're under with the weather the way it is. Our goal, though, this summer is to go in to renovate those fields, add dirt, add conditioner, put in new bases, new stops, and really upgrade them to a quality that the general public as well as the leagues will be able to utilize them.
That's good. Let's talk about tennis a little bit, too. I know we mentioned that as well, and I think either Dr. Gilbert or Lanny had mentioned that you were going to try to pay some attention to some of the tennis courts that are...
Now, in terms of the tennis courts that are there, we're going to have to look at some source of funding for resurfacing or for some kind of... And some of those courts may be... it may be better to use as a play surface rather than try to bring tennis back because of the condition and the amount of funding that it would require to renovate it. If it's possible to renovate that space and we are able to acquire the funding, we definitely have that on our radar. We're also working with all of the schools within the city, middle and high schools, in terms of city plan on our courts. I actually met with the middle schools yesterday, and we are moving the middle school tennis season to the fall so that they'll utilize space on Tuesdays and Thursdays for their tennis league, and then high schools that will give them space in the spring. So we'll coordinate with those schools. So the high schools have agreed to drop 2 days where they'll go 5 days a week. The middle schools will go 2 days a week in the fall, and I think that will eliminate some of the problems we have with tennis. In terms of developing tennis programs on the elementary level, we have not yet got into that. Now, the Murfreesboro Tennis Association is working really diligently, and we're also adding the U10 and the U8 lines to some existing courts to allow for those programs. We'll be hosting a USTA Junior State Tournament this summer in which the U8 and U10 tennis leagues will play and compete on the state level. So with that being implemented, that's a great event for us to incorporate into our program those younger age groups, for those kids to come out and see where they could go to, and then for us to start those programs.
Thomas, with regard to middle school tennis, which is county schools, not city schools, and I understand all of that, and is that in conjunction with the TSSAA, or in this case, I guess, middle school,
Well, the
TSSAA,
middle school-
as far as all the state schools moving to a fall schedule for tennis?
No, this is just in Rutherford County. Now, we feel like a lot of the schools throughout the state will go to that because of availability of courts, but the TSSAA does not necessarily regulate middle school athletics. So the dead period in the summertime that's specific to high schools does not include middle schools. Their season is not regulated. They play on a county level, meaning that they don't go outside the county once the season's finished. There's no postseason play. So they're able to move their season wherever they would like. And with more and more middle school age children getting into tennis and these teams growing, we found that they were needing more time than was initially thought of back in January when we scheduled the courts. So to give them more space and to allow them to flourish, we've decided to move them to the fall. And this was in efforts with both the middle schools principals and Mr. Gill with the county school board. Now, our contract does specify that they have use of the tennis courts of specific TSSAA time period. Our next step in this is to get with legal, get an amendment to that contract to allow for those 2 days in the fall, 2 days a week for middle schools, and we'll do 5 days a week in the spring as opposed to the 7 days a week that it's typically been.
Well, I want to commend, first of all, commend the City Council and Parks and Recreation Department, as well as Commission members, had foresight to work with the county to add those courts over at Old Fort. If the city had not got involved in that, these middle schools and high schools wouldn't have a place to play tennis.
Right.
And I hope that we can get a dialogue started back maybe with the county commission, or county government as well as city government, to find a way to work around maybe some facilities that we have around the city to see how we can help expand that program, or at least provide facilities for these programs, because it's literally exploding with all the middle schools that have taken up tennis. And with our growth in the county and the city, you've got more schools being built, which just means more teams are going to be involved in tennis at either the high school or middle school level. And I know it's not the city's burden alone to bear, and I guess I'm saying that to say let's start a dialogue, or at least increase the dialogue with the county schools and the county commissions about trying to find some other vehicles. But
Well, we've been very active in providing and supporting our county school athletics. We have numerous schools that utilize Barfield Crescent Park and Starplex and Old Fort Park for their softball and baseball programs, and we'll continue to work with them. Of course, like you say, we need to have some dialogue with the county in support of helping develop facilities. Obviously, facilities is always on the top of the agenda when it comes to athletics, and the more facilities we have, the more we'll be able to provide for those.
Well, in that dialogue, I think you ought to include the private schools in regard to their financial contribution to it.
Right, exactly. And we include all of the private schools. Providence and Middle Tennessee Christian School in particular are included in our tennis and in our baseball and softball programming.
And just to take it just a little further, Mr. Tips, the facility that we built in conjunction is a tri-party agreement between the city, the county, and the county schools was the right thing to do. Building 16 courts instead of building 6 here and 6 here and so forth has really proven to be the right thing, because you just heard Thomas talk about getting a state tournament. It gives opportunities for other things. Plus, it is a big enough facility that we can schedule a couple schools to practice in the afternoons instead of trying to pull them out through the week. So it's worked really well. It's allowed us to develop more programs with the Murfreesboro Tennis Association, which gives more opportunities for our citizens to go out. And I think, quite frankly, that whole complex has really caused a lot of the tennis boom that we're seeing and the growth in the tennis programs.
And we're working really hard towards moving towards developing athletic programs, not just the current basketball that the elementary schools offer, but also trying to add soccer and baseball and softball in the future. Facilities is our number one issue right now. Even if we do a complete renovation of those fields, they're not game quality type fields. They're practice fields, and we don't want to go above what they were intended use was. But hopefully in the future, when we can build some new facilities, we can incorporate all that programming into our elementary schools in that partnership with the city schools.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tim, for good questions. If there's no further new business or old business, our next meeting is the second Wednesday of June on the 8th, and we will stand adjourned.